Thank you, Major. At this time, our invocation and pledge will be by District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I'd like to introduce my nephew, somebody we're very proud of. He's Samuel Sullivan. He's a recent grad from Cookville High School, and he also served as the battalion commander at Junior ROTC. He's going to lead us in our invocation.
Will you bow your heads? Jesus, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to come here, Lord. We thank you for this time that we have here together. We thank you for this great nation, the freedoms that we have, Lord. I pray that you would grant us wisdom as a nation and as individuals, Lord, that you would lead us and that your presence would fill this place, even in this meeting, Lord. Let everything that we do be for your glory, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Scott. Hey, Tom. Mr. Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take your handsets. Everybody press yes and stop right there. Now, I will say this tonight. We do have a new system. So in this, I'm going to ask you to just push a button and stop right there. Stop right there. Don't confirm till I tell you to, because it does a different thing in locking in this thing. So I appreciate your cooperation in that, all right? Okay. Now, if you'll press confirm for me now, everybody, please. Everybody press confirm. And I appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, you have 23 present, 1 absent. There is a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Approval of the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Young?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion under Section E, Item 4, to postpone that to next month's meeting.
Second. Have a motion and a second to remove under other new business, number 4, to next month. I believe this will have to go to nominating, and it will be brought up next month. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'm sorry, excuse me if I may, but I don't think we approved the agenda, so I make a motion to approve it as amended, if I may.
Second that.
Okay. All right. Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Election of Chairman of the County Commission. The nominate committee recommends the consideration of Darrell Blair.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any nominations from the floor? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Election of Chairman Pro Tem of the County Commission. The nominating committee recommends the consideration of Ben Rogers.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any nominations from the floor? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Election of Parliamentarian of the County Commission. The nominating committee recommends the consideration of Jordan Awanison. Have a motion and a second. Any nominations from the floor? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business and thereof by the board. Report of standing committees. Planning Committee,
No unfinished business, Mr. Chair.
Physical Review,
No unfinished business.
Nominating,
No unfinished business.
Report of Special Committees. New business and action thereon by the board. Report of standing committees. Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item A under Planning Committee recommends approval of the Sheriff's Department request to sell surplus items via internet public auction, and I so move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item B recommends approval to transfer a 2002 Chevrolet Impala, you see the VIN number, from the Sheriff's Department to the Juvenile Youth Services Department, and I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That completes planning.
Thank you, Commissioner Atwood. Physical Review.
Thank you. Item A recommends approval of budget amendments to the county general fund in the amount of $265,115, and I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you take your handsets, if you favor the motion, vote yes. If you do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Stop right there for me, please. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Now press confirm for me, good ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much. You see the new configuration coming up. It says vote locked. Excellent. Mr. Chairman, you have 23 voting yes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 abstain. Motion carries. All right. Thank you, Chris.
Item B recommends approval for the Sheriff's Department to pursue a grant opportunity from the Tennessee Department of Education Title I funding, and I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I believe since this is going to just pursue a grant, I believe we can voice vote this. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes fiscal review.
Thank you, Commissioner Savage. Nominating Committee.
Nominating committee recommends approval of the appointment of Bill Scruggs, pilot, to the Upper Cumberland Board of Adjustments for the 3-year term to expire September 2018, and I so move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Nominating committee recommends the following appointments to the Joint Economic Community Development Board for 4-year term to expire September 2019. Mike Atwood, Regional Planning, Clarence Smith, Greenbelt, and I so move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That completes nominating.
Thank you, Commissioner Reeves. Report of Special Committees. Resolutions.
There are no resolutions, Mr. Chairman.
Election of Notaries.
Teresa Adams, Michael E. Buckner, Debbie Burchett, Adam Joseph Butts, Lisa Coomer, Susan D. Cox, Amanda Ferris, David Fry, Jerry Jackson, Brandy N. Jolly, Frank Kessler, Sandra G. Koger, Crystal G. Lindy, Deanna J. Lopes, Kelly Lorenzen, Jack Crawford Lynn, Nancy Malija, Tammy Phillips, Jessica McCart Robertson, Michelle Scott, Patricia D. Seagrave, Kimberly I. Smith, Sherry D. Thurman, Vicki H. Villa, Dolores B. Watkins, Amanda Wieglin.
Have a A motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk?
Ladies and gentlemen, we always have to vote these by our handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Now, would you please press confirm for me, ladies and gentlemen? Everybody press confirm. Everybody press confirm. There we go. Good deal. Mr. Chairman, I have 23 voting yes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 abstain. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Other new business. Hear from County Executive Randy Porter on the County Powers Act.
Mr. Chairman, I passed out the final draft of the County Powers Act ordinance and resolution. The committee met multiple times, and this is what they're recommending to the County Commission. I want to give you all a chance to be able to take it home and read it. If you have questions, mark it up or whatever. I'll be doing a presentation along with Chairman Rogers at the October meeting and try to answer any questions you might have and ask you to vote on it at the October meeting. If in the meantime, between now and then, if you have questions, that you feel free to call me, email me, or Mr. Rogers, either one. We'll be glad to try to answer those in the meantime. But I didn't want you to have to try to decide on it tonight. I want to give you a month to look at it before you have to vote on it.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Appreciate you doing that like I did.
Any other discussion? Okay, hear from County Executive Randy Porter on future Putnam and employee safety.
One thing that, if you read the newspaper and you'll be seeing some more stories on it, we've been planning with the department heads, having them come up with a 5-year plan to be able for budget committee to look at from year to year and to keep that updated. That's not something that the county has had before. The department heads have all worked really good together, and we've come up with that. It's in its final stages and ready to present to the budget committee at their next meeting. During the process, as we was going through this 5-year plan, one thing that I see in the near future, and it's my opinion, you may not agree, and that's okay, is a lot of growth in Putnam County. When you start bringing in over 2,000 jobs in 1 year, there's going to be growth. The one thing that I want to see as far as the county departments go, and the county as a whole, is controlled growth. When you see Rutherford County, some of these other places, Mount Uinta, different places, you're looking at uncontrolled growth where that it's coming so fast that the governments have a problem keeping up with it. So what we're starting on a department level is what I call future Putnam, and it's what do we want the county departments to look like 10 years from now, and to be prepared for that growth that I think is coming over the next 5 to 10 years, or maybe even longer. So I just wanted you to know about it. I'm going to be meeting individually with each department and some of their supervisors and key employees inside that department. It's going to be a lot of brainstorming, thinking about not necessarily what we can do that would require money, but things that we can do to the departments that may not cost money, that would better serve the citizens, be easier for the employees, or different things like that. So I'm looking at the budget committee being the sounding board, since they have a vast knowledge now of the county budget and the operations of the county by sitting on that committee and hearing all the departments come before them. If we have this big decisions that are going to be made, using them as a sounding board to try to get an idea of their opinions and so forth before it's actually brought to the county commission if it's going to require funding. There may be times that myself and the department heads may not agree on the future that we think that department needs to go in, and I'd like to use the budget committees to be able to use them as a sounding board for that also. So basically just information to let you know that it's going to be coming at some point. I'd like to have this completed before we get into next year's budget cycle, so you'll be having reports coming back to you and seeing things come up over the next several months as we go through this. The other thing is employee safety, and Sheriff, you want to Sheriff Ferris and I have been talking now for, well, really since, last few months, but since the Chattanooga shooting came about. And, one thing that we wanna make sure of is that our employees, have the safest working environment possible. And also, you as county commissioners have the safest environment possible when you're having a meeting. So we're starting a process that the first part of it is some training that, Sheriff Ferris will tell you about.
Yeah, we're gonna try to have about a part series of training. The first one's gonna be November 3rd and 4th. It's gonna be from 5:30 to 9:30 at the 911, building. And it's active shooter, workplace, and school violence. And the instructor's coming from out of town. He's well-known, and he's very good at what he does, and I think you'll really enjoy it. You should have that invitation by email. If you don't, I'm inviting you now. In fact, I'm urging you to come. Most of the leaders in the community is gonna be there, so we're hoping to get everybody and have a real good crowd and learn from it, so.
And then the second part of that is going to be, working with you as county commissioners, to have meetings to talk about procedures that we're gonna set in place for county commission meetings for your safety, things that we would do should we have an issue here. We'll be doing that after that everyone's took the training and working through that, so that'll be the future coming up. The other thing we're doing is with the employees. We're gonna be offering, ALICE training, to all the employees, along with some other safety training through Sheriff Ferris's employees that teach these classes, so that we make sure that every building has some procedures in place in case something was to happen in that building. The employees know exactly where to go. We're gonna be setting up safe rooms in each one of the buildings. We're gonna be setting up places where if we had to evacuate the buildings, the employees would know exactly where to go so that we could account for everyone after that the building is evacuated. So, we're working together on this. We wanted you to know some of the stuff that's gonna be coming about, and I'll be sending you more stuff by email and the letter as we work through it.
Or y'all want to still see us tonight after the meeting?
No.
Okay.
We'll do that at a future meeting
Okay.
after the November training.
Okay.
Randy, thanks for that, your future Putnam. It's been a long time needed, and thanks for stepping up.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for saying that.
Commissioner Rogers.
I also want to let everybody know CTAS is doing an active shooter training. The closest one, of course, it's free to county officials, is October 15th in Murfreesboro. It's a 4-hour class. It's free, so all the commissioners that are interested in going, it's active shooter training. I think Randy and I may have discussed it a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be able to go, but it'll be a good training. It'll tie into Sheriff what we're doing too, so it'll be a good training. So it's free.
Yeah, I actually took the training at Murfreesboro last month, maybe, or 2 or 3 weeks ago when they offered it, and it was a really good class. This class that the sheriff is putting together is gonna be a 2-nighter. It's really gonna get into detail, but the one that CTAS is doing is good also, so. We'll be doing some, the state did this, it's a pamphlet that you can have in every office for all the employees so that they know, what to do in case of activist shooter, bomb threats, severe weather, earthquakes, all kinds of things. These are very cheap to produce, so we'll be doing something like this for the county employees and for the commissioners. And once we go through the training, and we're already started working on developing these, so that's some stuff we're looking at doing for the future.
Any other discussion? Thank you, Mr. Porter. Next, hear from Park Ranger Bill Summers to discuss proposed state park. Mr. Summers?
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to introduce Bill. Bill is the head over the parks for Burgess Falls and has been great to work with over the last several years. Keeps me updated on what's going on with the parks, and he has some great information for you tonight and a nice announcement, I think, that everybody will enjoy.
Thank you all for taking the time. We're going to open a new park under my management. It's going to be a little while, but I wanted to take the time to go through a little bit of history of Burgess, and then some of the things we've accomplished and some of the challenges as we've moved forward. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, and then if anybody has any questions. The city of Cookeville, they bought most of what is the park in the 1920s to generate power. They changed the county lines, so everything was in Putnam County. And then they turned it over to Game and Fish in 44 when the Natural Areas Act was passed in '73, Burgess was one of the first two natural areas, along with Radnor Lake, established. So Burgess has been a state natural area, a state park, for 40 years. Since I've been there, we've acquired 4 small tracts, 85 acres. But for a 210-acre park, that's a lot. Construction of the dam in 1928 to generate power. The water flume all the way down to the bottom of the main falls. And then the powerhouse generated live current until 1944 for the city of Cookeville. The park is approximately 210 acres, 4 waterfalls, a small lake, playground, picnic tables, restrooms, 2 miles of hiking trails, regular education programs, a native butterfly garden that the Putnam County Master Gardener has worked with us on. Burgess was featured in the National Audubon Calendar in 2012, Southern Living in 2011, and we won 2 Governor's Awards for excellence, which that's against all the municipalities and state parks in the system. And some parks have won 1, but none 2. 1 for the butterfly garden with the Putnam County Master Gardeners, and then 1 for our environmental education and outreach, specifically the junior ranger camps. It's the most visited attraction in both Putnam and White counties. That's a caveat, with almost 200,000 visitors now. The park staff, me, 2 rangers, a clerk, and 3 seasonals. No maintenance staff. We're on the eastern Highland Rim. To the west of us, of course, is the Central Basin, and to the east, the Cumberland Plateau. Being so close to I-40 and major population centers, our visitation has continued to rise. When I came to Burgess 12 years ago, my visitation was 62,000. We've worked hard. Last year we were at 182,000, and we're a day-use area, and that's a lot of people. And with that comes injuries and a few other things. Great Smoky Mountains National Park is the most visited of the 58 national parks in the nation. 9.4 million visitors went to the park, and they have 521,000 acres, and that's about 18 visitors per acre. The fiscal year before last, we had 159,000 visitors, and that's an average of about 760 visitors per acre. Last year, we topped out by another 20,000, and that's about 871 visitors per acre. That's a lot of people in a small park. Our seasonal staff was cut by about 1/3 several years ago as our visitation went up. But I'm going to get 2 rangers for Window Crew, so that'll help make up for that loss. We've been doing a survey of license take for 4 years. No other park has done it in the system. And this data, I think y'all will find interesting. It's about 8,000 hits. We do this almost once a day. But about 50% of our visitors are from other counties in the state, most from around Nashville. About 24% are from Putnam and White County, and about 25% are from other states. And people drive from all over the country now and all over the state. Based upon the Friends' work in 2009 and a couple other studies, Burgess brings in about $7.3 million in indirect economic impact. And this is based upon 182,000 visitors. Most of it goes to Putnam because the interstate, and it's the big city. So it's something that we don't get credit for, and a lot of people don't know, but I've been keeping data for years, and it's fairly significant. This is a problem, though. I can fit 100 cars in the park, and now in February, if the weather breaks, once I fit the 100 cars in, we start building a line. And the officers and I have got to clear the county roads, sometimes all the way back to 135. This goes all the way through November if the weather's nice. And we really don't need more parking because I've got to balance protection of the resource and safety and 500 people at any one time. Most of the people come and want to experience wilderness. If we have another parking lot with 200 or 300 more people, the park would be a wreck. Safety would be an issue. So we've got some growing pains. Burgess has always been popular. Always people taking chances at the edge of the falls is a constant thing. This man here is pointing a rifle at what we think is his estranged brother-in-law. Pretty much any given Saturday at the park still. Challenges restrooms, 2 stalls in each, sometimes 15 to 20 women waiting to get in. We've got a project, we're going to knock down a wall and add 3 more stalls to each, so that'll help tremendously. A lot going on always, a lot of volunteers, junior rangers, Girl Scouts, a lot of the things we do, invasive species removal, plant native trees. There's a lot we've got to do behind the scenes. We have to do research. I've got to monitor the plants and animals to keep up with it. Tech helps us tremendously. several annual events, Girl Scout, Master Gardener Service Day, Butterfly Garden celebration every year, Junior Ranger Day camps, spring camps, summer camps. My staff's not allowed to buy marshmallows. They have to buy closeout peeps, because when you melt a peep, it essentially becomes a peeps no more. We don't. It's kind of a good pun. I wish I'd coined it, but nobody ever gets it. Our summer and spring camps, we have 5 to 7 every year, a whole week. Constant work on the trails. No maintenance staff, so the 3 of us and the 3 seasonals do it all with volunteers. Some of the challenges, our Middle Falls overlook collapsed, saturated ground over the July 4th weekend, and then trees fell and took it out. So we have fencing up now and processed in place to repair it. You can still get a good view of the Middle Falls despite the overlook being damaged. Structural engineers came in at my request finally after that closed, and they determined that the 90-year-old concrete on the metal staircase bottom is so worn that we had to close it immediately, and the metal is so far gone. The pillars are all undercut and damaged. And this is going to be a big project. It's going to be a capital project, which I have faith will be done sometime in the future. The Main Falls Overlook also has some damage and wear. It's only 35 years old, but the 2 main support pillars are cracked nearly all the way through. So the architects are coming out this week. They're going to determine what's needed to fix, and I'm hoping they will fix this by spring. I need to get this overlook open. We have a premium of talking to everybody that comes to the park and telling them the issue. I've got somebody stationed at the overlooks to make sure people don't jump the gate and jump the fence on the overlooks and explain. We had to put up signs everywhere. And to have somebody stationed, one of us at the overlooks, make sure somebody doesn't jump onto either of those overlooks. We're still having people jump on the overlook, despite we've had someone jump on and fall to their death 4 weeks ago. It's still occurring. So I can't do it with my staff, so I'm rounding up any volunteer I can and deputizing them to guard that fence. I wanted to work this picture into this program. We've got a lot of partnerships. Our nonprofit Friends Group helps. They fund some seasonal hours. Putnam County Master Gardeners, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Tech, Camera Club, Land Trust, Junior Rangers and their families, and a lot of others. Now, window cliffs. I've been working on this for 12 years. This was an area that was considered to be a natural area 40 years ago, but we had no willing seller. But I've been talking to the landowners, and they couldn't control access. People were entering illegally, a lot of injuries, and Randy knows firsthand there was a lot of responses. We're about 2 years out from this. The cliffs, it's got a couple of nice waterfalls. We've acquired this 100 acres with the cliffs and 1 waterfall. This is Burgess Falls. We're almost done acquiring this area here. Our plans are to have a parking lot here and then a long 4-mile trail over to here to an overlook. There'll be a fair drive over here. The 2 parks won't connect yet, but it'll be a nice park. This window cliffs, there's only a few limestone windows and natural bridges in Tennessee. There's a plant that only grows in the state on top of those window cliffs. So not only do we need to keep people off of the top of those cliffs for that, for also safety. Those cliffs are very dangerous, and extraction or getting people out when they're injured is going to be a challenge. But it's still going to be a wonderful hike, a different clientele than come to Burgess probably. This is where our parking lot is going to be. It's at the top. It's going to be a long, rugged hike in. This is along Old King Creek Road, down in the bottom. This stone wall was built about 130 years ago, and it parallels much of what's going to be our trail, and it's still in pretty good shape. The rock is stacked well. It's 3 to 6 feet high in places. Where I'm standing when they finish the dam, finish repairs, this will be underwater. We're going to have to build several bridges. At its terminus before it comes into Falling Water River, Cane Creek, when it floods, it'll come up above where I am. So these bridges are going to have to be pretty substantial. They're going to have to be permanent, not just a little footbridge, but a big swinging bridge, which is going to take some time. And we're planning now. I've hired 2 park rangers. They still got to go to the academy, and then ropes training and all the stuff that makes us specialized. And they'll be on the ground and ready to go by April. But then we're still waiting on budget augmentation and vehicles questions? I know it's kind of quick, but I wanted to update you all. Yes, sir.
About how far out you think the stages are to actually begin, or maybe completion?
About 2 years.
About 2 years?
Yes, sir. I'll have everybody on, and then we'll be able to start working on the trail if I get the vehicles and the budget allocation, and we get all the property we'd like. Yes, sir.
You had mentioned that Window Cliffs and Burgess Falls at this time are not connected. Is there any future prospects for maybe connecting the parks at some point down the road?
Only if there's a willing seller. And Burgess and Window Cliffs are unique as they're both state natural areas, which is just no development except for enough facilities to take care of the resource and take care of the public. So they're much different from typical state parks. Their designation is a little different.
Ranger Bill, did I hear a plea for more money from the state?
Well, they're working on it. All right, we're only a couple months into the fiscal year, so I think probably by June I'll know what my new budget will be for this fiscal year. They're working on it, though, yes, sir. I think it'll be soon. Thank you all. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Ratification of Randy Porter's appointments to the Regional Planning Committee as follows: 4-year terms to expire September 2019. Kay Detweiler and Richard Wright.
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The commission chair to appoint 4 members to serve on the Rules Committee: Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Ford, Commissioner Robertson, Commissioner Medley. Announcements and statements. Hear from TCCA Director Charlie Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. It's an honor to be standing before you, and certainly thankful for the opportunity. Mr. Chairman said, my name is Charlie Curtis. I'm Executive Director of County Commissioners Association. I work directly for you. I'm your only employee. So if things go south, I can't blame it on anyone. All you got to do is call one number, and you've got me. By a little bit of background, many of you have known me for years, but I never ever intended to get into politics. In 1978, I was elected fire chief. Going like this, I was elected fire chief. And after 4 years as fire chief in '82, I was elected to the county commission in White County. And ultimately in '86, I was elected county executive. In '94, I was elected to Tennessee General Assembly, elected to 10 terms. I left early, December 31st of '13, to assume this job as Executive Director of County Commissioners Association. The main reason I'm making these rounds is you're a neighbor. I've probably got more family in this county than I have my home county. My grandmother was raised here. She was a Pippin, and her mother was a Garrison. So I know I've got more cousins in Putnam County than I do in White County. But the main reason I want you to know, I'm not some dignitary or bureaucrat stuck off in a building in Nashville. I'm a resource for each one of you, and if there's anything I can ever do for you, I want you to call me. I want you to feel comfortable calling me and feel free to call me. I've given you my card. It's got all my phone numbers, my home, my cell, my office. And I tell people, if you want to call me at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, have at it. I'm not going to be mad about it, but my wife won't talk to me for 2 or 3 weeks if you do that. I've actually had it happen. I want to give you a little bit of a legislative report. This year there was 3,864 pieces of legislation filed in Tennessee General Assembly. That's counting resolutions. There's a 25-member board that governs what I do, and they're all commissioners just like you. And we reviewed probably around 300 bills that actually impacted county government. They found 18 bills that they felt would really be beneficial to county government. So we worked hard, and 12 of those actually became law. And the other 6, they got opportunity this coming year. We found 31 bills that we felt were going to be detrimental to county government. 7 of those became law. The 24 others are still be on the desk this coming year. is interested in some of the bills, 'cause I know the sheriff's here with us tonight. One of the bills that they're actually having a hearing next month, it was to say that the sheriff's office couldn't use military surplus. And it's been amended a little bit now, it's certain types of surplus. I probably wouldn't want the sheriff to have a rocket launcher, but most military items would be beneficial to law enforcement. I think they should have it. But they're having a hearing, and it looks like that's evolving to where if the sheriff wants to acquire that equipment, it would have to be approved of the county commission. They're having hearings on that. We've not taken a posture on that. My posture is I wanna make sure the sheriff gets the best equipment they can get their hands on. But that happened to be one of the bad bills that the board decided to, oppose. CTAS, Ben Rogers works for CTAS, and before him, his uncle. CTAS is the best friend we've got in state government to help elected officials. It doesn't matter whether it's a clerk, a sheriff, or who it is, certainly county commissioners too. They're a resource. I'm in the same building they are, so I'm just a few footsteps away from them. Ben's got several counties he has to work in. You call him, you might not get him, 'cause he's in meetings all the time. But if you're needing something fast and he's in a meeting, you can't call me. I can short circuit the system. And one of the few joys in life and the government has been able to cut red tape. CTAS is evolving a little bit of their training. You can't take off work and travel to Nashville or Murfreesboro just anytime there's a training opportunity. Well, they're evolving into what's called webinars. And they're gonna put those in modules. The first one they had was on budget, the county budget process. You wouldn't wanna sit and look 3 hours through that to find out one topic. So they're gonna break it into modules, and ultimately it'll be on their website. And eventually you'll be able to go any hour of the day and look up a topic and see exactly what that training module told the people that were attending that meeting. We've got a fall conference coming up 7th, 8th, and 9th of October in Murfreesboro. And that's Tennessee County Services Association. On the 6th, starting at 11:30, there's gonna be a meeting concerning transportation funding. One of the biggest issues we got facing us on the state level and the local level is transportation funding. We've got our total dependence on gas tax. It's not keeping pace with inflation. We've got to have some type of revenue source for transportation that's got a growth component. I really don't look for anything to change this year, but what's incumbent on all of us is to keep abreast of what's going on and make sure that the counties get their part of that. You can't afford to be left behind because you've got hundreds of bridges and thousands of miles of road, and you simply can't be left holding the bag. So that's something we're all going to have to watch. I want to share a couple of things with you. There's 2 rules. I'm getting to be an old man, and I've operated under these 2 rules for a long time. One's biblical and one's not. The first one is not biblical, but it helped me a tremendous amount when I came out of the service. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I had a little trouble interfacing back into society when I came back. I was a little too temperamental. And I read something one day, and it said, "Speak well of your enemies, you made them." It sounds sort of humorous on the front end, but once you think about it, it's a pretty profound statement. We pick up enough enemies in life not trying. When we have the opportunity not to create an enemy, we need to go out of our way to try to do that in dealing with our fellow man. If you disagree, just agree to disagree. Don't go to war over it. The last thing I want to say is on the rules is it's biblical. If you have to twist or turn the truth to get what you want, God's not in it. If God's not in it, you don't want it. You might be happy for a real small segment of time, but you will not be happy long. Trust me. I've been down that road. But I want to say something. I've not said this to any other county commission. You're a unique group. When I was a legislator, I represented 3 counties in Upper Cumberland all the time I was in. It swapped around a little bit. But when I voted, I impacted every person in this state. Each one of you are representing your district. When you vote, you represent, you're impacting everyone in White County. I mean, in Putnam County, but it's bigger than that. you impact the whole Upper Cumberland. You get White County, you get every county that borders you. What you do impacts this whole region because you're the hub of the Upper Cumberland. There's not very many county commissions sitting with that type of responsibility on their shoulders. I want to personally thank each one of you for what you do. You take away from your family. It's not a good day some days. You have to cast votes sometime that people don't understand. I thank each one of you for what you do. I ask God bless each and every one of you and your families. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Hear from citizen Ms. Cindy Schuman from District 10. If you would just state your name, and you got 3 minutes.
Cindy, if you'll pull that microphone down just a little bit where we can. There you go. Thank you.
I want to thank you for hearing me. I'm going to try to talk fast. But first, I have some of these. If I may give them to somebody, you can pass them around. Thank you, Randy. Hold on. Let me take this top one. Oh, don't I have mine? The sign on the bottom? Never mind. I'm a mess. So they're in groups. I want to thank you for hearing me. I represent 3 neighborhoods affected by the newly constructed city dog pound built next door to the Heidelberg facility, Grademere, Biltmore, and Farmington neighborhoods. Most of us have chosen to live in the county because we desire to have a healthier environment, away from the noise, pollution, cars, crowds of the city. We chose our particular neighborhoods partly because we had the security of knowing that the area around us was owned by the TTU Agricultural Department and would not change in the near future. Further, each one of these neighborhoods determined its own standards. Even though the county doesn't require much in that way, we did. We required standards so that we wouldn't have perhaps a car junkyard next to us. Prior to the city dog pound being built, we saw a sign that said Future Home of Pet Care Campus, which was very misleading to all of us. Our living conditions since it has been built has deteriorated. We'd like you to just imagine, since you all prefer to live in the peace and quiet of the county as well, if this were in your backyard. Now we really need your help. We aren't just concerned that our property values are being negatively affected, but the quality of our life and time in our own yards has been destroyed. We've asked the city to mitigate the noise, but the noise is only one aspect of our growing serious concerns. While we're unable to use our own backyards, our decks, our porches because of the noise, there is a concern about the rodents because of the excessive garbage at the facility that piles up and overflows. The water runoff has changed, which now floods neighbors on either side. But our biggest concern is expansion. If these 4 things are destroying us now, expansion would make our neighborhood a ghost town. Worse than expansion is the potential of an incinerator. The noise. So we implore you to help us resolve this intolerable situation. We would like to see that the noise is mitigated, which there has been an improvement in that the dogs are no longer allowed to be outside all night long, but the day use of our properties is still unacceptable, and I do have a 30-second clip of sound from my yard that I can play. We would also ask that the garbage would need to be contained. All of your garbage in your houses and yards is contained, as is ours. And here's a picture today. I stopped on the way here of their garbage. There's more than one. We would like written assurance that this facility would not be able to expand and that there would not be an incinerator installed at this location. Finally, because the animal shelter is owned by the City of Cookeville, we're wondering why they don't have to comply to city ordinances. It is extremely insulting to us when we ask them why don't they have to comply to Ordinance 10-205, and they say to us because there's no ordinances in the county. So what we're hearing is that at our peril, they have license to do whatever they want to because there's no ordinances to protect us. So, thank you for listening to me, and if you have any questions, and I would like to play the sound clip so that you know what it's like from my yard. And then I can pass these pictures. I don't have them printed because I stopped and took them today. This is their garbage today. I'll play the sound clip and then I'll pass these garbage pictures around. There's 3 garbage pictures.
When you start your sound, Cindy, put it right up next to the microphone, okay?
Okay. Right. That's from my backyard. My backyard. And mine's not even the worst. When we went to the city council meeting, the only thing they wanted to address was mitigating the noise. And so the one thing that they did determine is that they'll lock the dogs up at night. So at least we're not hearing them all night long, because we were hearing them all night long as well as all day. So now we only hear them in the day mostly, unless the city or the county drops off a dog. They can't get into the facility, then we still hear that barking dog, or if that dog kind of upsets other dogs.
Do we know if the garbage issue is because it's not being picked up often enough, or do they not
You
have
want me to
adequate
do this?
facilities, containers?
And it has caused additional rodents. Some neighbors are here. Oh.
What do you live, Cindy, in conjunction with Matt? So that's where you recorded this sound?
Cindy, real quick question for you too, on the, in addition to Mike's, question there. How far would you estimate with that sound, how far would you estimate your home is from the facility? Is it within a quarter mile, half mile?
Help. There are 20 people that are more directly affected than 60. But there are 60 people that have said, gosh, especially if they expand or get an incinerator, and we all put our homes up for sale at one time, not only we risk the loss of property value, but anyone driving into a neighborhood with more than one home for sale is going to drive the other way.
Ma'am, if you would come up. If you would state your
Yes,
name.
Leslie Scott.
Okay.
I'm the 3rd house on the left when you turn onto Grademere Drive from Gainesboro Grade. I don't live toward the end of the cul-de-sac where Cindy lives. I have a recording, if you're trying to imply that the noise is only bad toward the end of the cul-de-sac where Cindy lives, it's not. It's all the way up the street. If you all want to hear a comparative recording, I'd be glad to provide it, or you can take my word for it. It's the whole neighborhood that hears it. It's not just at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Well, even
Would you-
Biltmore, over by Tony Honeycutt, if y'all know where he lives, there are
Well, I
people
think-
over there that complain.
From what little I've been in County Executive, Mr. Porter, you might wanna address this, but, I think we wanna help if there's any way possible. But at this time, I don't know. I do, the last I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Randy, I believe, city manager, Mr. Mike Davison, is getting with a sound person from TTU.
I was contacted by the city and asked permission if they could provide my contact information to TTU to be a participant in that study, and I have not heard from anyone.
Not only that,
But I
that's
did
just
hear
the
from the
sound.
city,
Yeah.
and that's just the sound.
That's just the sound, and that's not even the major concern anymore.
But, Mr. Porter, if you wanna address this, what you know.
Oh,
what
I'll be
y'all
glad to
been
add what I know, and I've met with these folks, and spoke to them several times, so has Commissioner Honeycutt and Commissioner Bradford, and, they have a legitimate concern. When the animal shelter was put there, it's a city-owned facility, I think the land, and without getting into all those details, was probably donated or something, but it's a city facility, but at the same time, the county, funds half of the cost of operating the shelter on an annual basis, so that our dogs can be taken to the shelter also. I think where the problem arose, not trying to put the blame on anyone, but, the architects and the engineers that developed the building, from talking to and hearing folks that had talked to them, that the sound was supposed to go in the other direction over towards Hyder Burks. Well, when you look at those houses where they're at, there's no way that the sound's not gonna go from that side of the building up to those houses. I got an email from Mike Davidson just 2 weeks ago, this past Friday, and from what Leslie was talking about, Cookville has hired Tennessee Tech, a mechanical engineering doctor from there that's supposed to be coming in to try to help them to figure out what the solution would be to fix the noise problem. Mike has inherited this as the new city manager. I think Mike's trying. They have planted trees. Planting the trees is gonna take a long time to ever do anything to grow. They're supposed to grow somewhere between 3 to 5 foot a year, but you're looking at several years before that's gonna happen. They put up a fence right around the shelter that's got some sound barrier tarp on it. I don't think that helped very much. I think they've started leaving the dogs on the inside at night. I don't know if that's, I think you said that it helped some. They're trying to change the times that they're cleaning the kennels and so forth, and I think they've tried several things and just not sure that it's worked very much. So now they've got this expert coming in to try to tell them what will it take to fix the noise problem. Is it a wall? What the solution is. One of the other concerns that I know that they have is about the incinerator. The incinerator, there is one already at the old animal shelter. It has been there for years. In talking to the city manager, they don't have any plans of putting a new incinerator at the new shelter in any future plans in the near term. I think what the folks would like to have would be a guarantee that there won't be an incinerator put there. In talking, and I actually talked to Mike Davidson about this, and he says his problem is that he can't guarantee that a future city council wouldn't put one there. And I understand that it'd be like me trying to guarantee that a future county commission wouldn't do something, so that's a problem that they have in not wanting to see an incinerator put down there. He says at the time they're gonna keep using the one at the old animal shelter, but again, I'm just telling you what I've got from talking to Mr. Davidson, so. But they do
Commissioner
have an
Atwood?
issue, they definitely have an issue.
Commissioner Atwood?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One question, or two questions, if I may, please. The first question is, I'm hearing the sound. Is that the major issue? The sound? So what is the major issue? In what way? You're looking for that's my next question, is what do you want from us? I don't think you're meeting any resistance here, but my question now will be directed to our county executive and our county attorney. Is that possible, what they're requesting of us?
I don't think that we're in a position, let me back up, from what Mr. Porter just said to you, that Mike Davidson had given a statement that he had no plans, or he knew of no plans to put an incinerator at the present animal shelter. But he couldn't give assurances that would bind future city councils. I don't know that this commission is in a position to bind the city council to anything. And I hear what you're saying and sympathetic to the situation, but I don't know that we have the power to do that. Is that your question, Mike?
Yeah, I'm looking to what parameters we as a county can do. Do we have any teeth in this, or do we have any policing force by which to mitigate this? That's my question.
Legally, I don't know that we have an opportunity or in a position to bind the city council to do anything. Politically possible. It's possible that with the political pressure that this commission could put on, and with the kind of publicity that this problem seems to continue to have, certainly that's going to force the city to do something. And from what we just heard a little while ago, they're already doing it. The noise problems have not fallen on deaf ears, no pun intended, with sound engineers and whatnot, with the kind of walls that you see along the interstate on I-40 around Knoxville and things such as that. I don't know if anything that complex would be necessary out there, but we do know that that works. And if the city is doing that, that's at least one step in the right direction.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Medley.
Mr. Porter, I know that, what Jeff said there, we don't have no say-so about the barbecue problem, but I know we can do something about the trash problem.
Yeah.
The city has all kinds of trucks, and they got all kinds, and like you said, we put money in on this dog pound too, so I believe a phone call ought to help out a lot. So I believe we ought to be able to do something about the trash problem.
Yeah, I'll make that phone call in the morning. Actually, that's the first time I'd heard about the garbage, and I'd heard all the other stuff before, but, they can't hear you.
Doesn't the county issue permits for construction if an expansion were being planned by the city to construct additional buildings or facilities? Wouldn't they have to pull a permit from the county?
Well, the answer to that question is there are permits pulled without question for construction.
Okay.
That is absolutely true. The question I guess struggling with here is the city's control of everything if it's on county property. Is that
It's not on county property.
okay? Then the permit would have to come through the city.
No, it's owned by the city of Cookeville. It's in the county, so construction permits would have to be pulled from the county, correct?
Well, I just asked a question if it was on county property and was told that it's not on county property. That's what I just heard.
It's in the county, Mike, but it's not on county-owned property.
So the city owns the property. They pay city property taxes to the city. That's where the permit would come from.
They own property in the county just as I own property in the county. If I'm going to build an addition on my home, I have to pull a permit, a construction permit, don't I, from the county? Okay, they are a property owner, they just happen to be the city of Cookeville. They're a property owner in the county. So if I suggest that if there's any way that this county commission can block approval of additional expansions and not issue permits for construction on that property, that's an idea that I have. I don't know if that works, but.
Thanks, Larry. Unfortunately, the city of Cookeville is not another property owner just like you or me. It's a governmental entity, and governmental entities are treated a little bit differently under the law. I'm not sure that they would have to pull a permit to do an expansion out there. You know, furthermore, any zoning, I mean, I know that countywide zoning is not anything that the commission would really consider, but even if it did, zoning ordinances wouldn't apply to the city of Cookeville or city-owned property. It just wouldn't. So,
Mr. Midley, anything else? Mr. Wanza?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a brief question. Randy may be able to answer this, or maybe the ladies might be able to, but how many individuals do we think are in the affected neighborhood? What's an estimate on number of people in that area?
Our particular cul-de-sac is 13 houses. Down the grade is another 7 houses right in the immediate vicinity. And then Farmington has about 20 houses that feel like they're affected. And then Biltmore is up Shipley School Road a little bit, but it's only the back side of Biltmore, so there's another 15 houses.
Sounds like you expect probably about 100, 150 people at least in that area possibly.
I have canvassed the neighborhood, and I know which houses have said to me, yes, the noise is a problem, and depending on if they ever got an incinerator, the quality of the air and the way the wind blows would be an additional problem.
Thank you, Cindy.
Commissioner Bertram?
That's me, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Jill.
Donnie 1 or Donnie 2?
Yeah, Donnie, Donnie too. Jill, I got some comments for you. Me and you talked this past week.
Sure.
Tell this, and you've explained it a little bit to Mike. What can the county do to assure those homeowners the incinerator will not go in?
I'm not sure that there's anything that this commission can do to bind the city council other than the political pressure that it puts on the city. I mean, there's no ordinance or there's no law that the county commission could pass to prevent an incinerator if the city chose to put it out there because it's city-owned property. But I would find it, given all of the complaints and all of the problems, I would find it very difficult for the city to put an incinerator on that property, given how much this commission's asking questions, these residents are asking questions. It'd be difficult for me to imagine them doing it.
Okay. Now, I asked you to check on something else. We can eliminate, and the homeowners come up with this suggestion. Me and Randy Porter, Kim sat down with Mike Davison right after he got officially the city manager, along with a couple other ladies, and I forgot their name, and asked us for some suggestions. The homeowners have suggested a real good short-term solution. Are there a law that says the dogs have to be out so long?
No, there's not a state law and there's not a federal law that says a dog at an animal shelter has to be out for so many hours a day. There is, though, a law regarding animal cruelty, and there are some cases that involve this as far as keeping dogs in kennels and pens that are unsanitary. So the answer to your question, Tony, is sort of. There's no real specific number of hours, but they have to be out of those kennels at least long enough for them to be cleaned up.
Okay, with that said, my understanding it's around 7 o'clock in the morning up to about 11 or 12. Yeah. Yeah, Mike Davis, I talked to him today, and he told me they had changed the time where it's an hour later, I think. What I'm getting at, Jill, if the dogs was have to be put out while the kennels were being cleaned inside, they're gonna be out so long, that time, could not they go back, and this may be more of a comment for Randy to sit down with Mike Davidson, after the pens are cleaned inside, put them back up until we reach a solution with the city about a long-term solution. That's all they're asking, is for the animals to be put up more.
You're correct. There is nothing that says that they have to be out at 8 a.m. in the morning or 1 p.m. in the afternoon. There is nothing that dictates when these dogs have to be out to have their pens cleaned. I mean, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, this comment would probably be more for Randy and all, and we need to talk to Mike Davidson. I go up and down past that animal shelter 5 and 6 times a day. I see all kinds of signs, all kinds of picnics, all kinds of gatherings out there. You can ask every homeowner when they have a picnic, when they have a cookout, the dogs are put up during the day. Why?
I'll have to find out.
Commissioners, just stop and think why. Because they don't want to be affected by the noise at their picnic, their cookouts, or their gatherings that they have. That don't show a lot of respect for those homeowners out there. Guys, I get all kinds of phone calls. You know, my job is to try to help them. It is, and I know Mike Davidson gets tired of taking my phone calls, but it's a situation that's not going to go away. It's not a problem that's going to go away. So all they're asking for is some help, and I think we need to sit down with the city and explain to them we got to do something. I was told a while ago that they are in the process of trying to get some sound. One of the people in here told me they are trying to get some. He overheard a comment about them trying to put up some sound barriers, and I did not know that. But you know, we got to do something. Now let me one other comment, Mr. Chairman. I will hush. I will hush. There's not a commissioner sitting on this committee, not a person in this room want to live where those homeowners does right now. Nobody does. They don't want to hear this. I'm thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Commissioner Hunter.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think there's any doubt about the residents need some help. I mean, they do. And it appears that it was limited, based on what Mr. Jones has said, it's limited to what the county can do to assist. But there's one thing that the city and the county can do, and that's meet with these people, have a representative. I understand that you never received a call someone's supposed to call you from tech, you hadn't heard a word. Now maybe that's being worked on, but you don't know that. So I think sometimes it's good if you could just get all parties to meet so you can communicate and you can discuss issues. And I'm sure there's times when the city will need to meet on their own, county. I would suggest, Randy, that you do participate in the meetings. And if it's anything that this county can do, my guess is this commission would be more than happy to assist and do what we can do, whatever that is. But keep the communications going. I think that's very, very important.
I agree. There's an animal control board that Leslie and some of the folks have come to, and I think the biggest problem is right now is what is the ultimate final answer to fix the problem. I know we've talked about walls and curtains and all these kind of things, but there really hadn't been anybody said, if you do this, this will fix it. I'm hoping that this is a good sign of the city hiring TTU engineer to come in, and this is what their expertise is reducing noise levels from different types of problems, and that they will be able to say, we need to do this to fix it. But I think that in the meantime, the garbage problem, the bales of hay and so forth, I'll address with Mike Davidson in the morning to see if we can get that taken care of. But hopefully they'll be having an animal control board meeting very soon to address this. Also, I asked him to call one again to talk more about it.
Commissioner Ford.
Mr. Chairman, I like Councilman Dwight Henry.
he seems to know a little bit about what's going on. Did you want to say something to
Yes,
White?
I thought you had something to ask her. I got him on up here. Come on up, Councilman Henry. If you would just state your name.
My name is Dwight Henry. I'm a member of the Cookeville City Council. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. A number of the neighbors came to our city council meeting a few weeks ago and voiced what, in my view, was some very legitimate, valid complaints in a very articulate, professional, but firm manner. And they did a great job of representing the neighborhood. And in my view, also, I mean, and the problem is complicated, as you've discussed tonight, by the fact that it is a city-owned facility inside the county, which creates some dynamics that we don't usually have. And as a result of that, I expressed to Mike, who is making, and I hesitate to speak for anybody else on the council, that this needs to be a front burner issue, that those folks over there in the neighborhood don't need to have the noise and the other problems any one more day than necessary. After which, this professor from Tennessee Tech, Mike, before he started, said, well, we need to know, as the county executive pointed out, what is the best solution. We didn't know the answer to that, but we know we wanted to come to it as quickly as we could. So we retained the services of the tech professor who specializes in this kind of thing, and already she has been contacted some of the neighbors there about putting some devices in yards to be able to help determine the distance and the direction of the noise and some other things that I don't even know the language of, so we're moving. And there are structures that exist, call it walls or structures that are designed to mitigate this kind of noise, and it is a problem. And I've been over in that neighborhood, and I met with that professor on that particular site and been over there more than one time, and have heard the noise myself, even though I don't live over there. But know this, it is a front burner issue with the city. The bringing on of that professor is something that we moved on quickly. Whatever it takes to solve the problem. Clearly, it is a city facility, and I know the county contributes a lot of money toward the operation, which we obviously appreciate. But the ownership and the lion's share of the problem lies with the city, and as far as one councilman is concerned, and I think it's a consensus, we want to move in whatever direction as quickly as we can to get it solved. If it's a structure, if it whatever the professionals tell us that we need to do it ASAP, and I believe there's a commitment to do that. As far as the long, it's as far as guaranteed in the future. I mean, this city council could vote 5-0 the next time we get together to say, no, we're not going to put an incinerator there. No, we're not going to expand it there. And I think that would probably be the vote. But you don't ever know what's going to happen in years to come. That's why Mike hesitates to say, I guarantee that'll never happen, because he can't know the will of future councils. But we do see it primarily as our problem, and we're moving to fix it as quickly as we can, because I am very sensitive to the needs of these folks you've heard from here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Henry. Ms. Sheehan?
Thank you. I just want to say one last thing. This is my plea. These are our homes, our financial investments, our private yards to play with our kids or have company. And we trusted that there would be a primary basic principle of do no harm. We've been harmed in a big way. That primary principle has been violated, and we are very destroyed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sheehan. And as I may say, as the chairman of this commission, I mean, if there's anything we can do, I think this commission is willing to. If there's anything we can do, my conversations with the council, the city manager, I think they feel your concern too, and I hope this works out for us. Any other announcements or statements? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor say aye.